you would like to get your VOD reviewed in a video like this one, join my Discord server and go to the free coaching tab. From there you'll find the README channel, and from there all you have to do is read through the rules of the channel, and then click on the little agreement with the reaction button, and from there you'll be given access to the Viewer VOD's channel where you can leave your submission. Okay, so let's go and look at this guy's post. So he says he is rated ranked 1970, so that's just below gold. In this VOD, he'll be playing Mccree, Reaper, and Hanzo. And he adds, I have been in silver/gold my whole life. I feel I have improved a lot over time. I can't tell what I do wrong in games and would like an outside perspective. I have SMA, which is a severe muscle condition. I believe it's severe muscular atrophy, I believe, for anybody who doesn't know. And yeah, so I have which is a severe muscle condition, but that may put a cap on my ability to play games. But I would like to know any other things to improve. So upon reading this, I actually messaged him to try to get a bit more details as to like how this condition affects him. And from what he's told me, he's incapable of pressing the L1 button on his controller. He plays on PlayStation. So now, because of that, he's remapped the controls so that he's able to play more comfortably. So that's a good thing. Now, if he were if he was in a situation where he this is me speaking directly to him because he's wondering if this may put a cap on his ability to play. If you can play comfortably, realistically, like, there may be a slight cap, but there's absolutely nothing holding you back from improving, right? Like, if you can play comfortably and you have the buttons mapped out in a way that you're used to it, there's no real reason, right? But just keep in mind that it's like there may be times where it might put, well, it'll obviously pose a bit of a challenge, but if you can play comfortably, you should be fine. There's no reason why you can't improve. So that's what we're going to be trying to do today. We're going to be trying to look at what it is that he needs to do to improve in this VOD. So yeah, let's just get straight into it. So, you've taken the high ground. You have a mercy pocket, so this isn't bad. The one thing that I would be hesitant about taking the high ground initially is if you don't, well, for one thing, if you don't have teammates out there with you, and your mercy should be up here with you at least. She's not, she's pistoling. Very cool. Great start. But yeah, the idea is that you want to be relatively close to your team as Mccree. Taking high ground obviously is great, but just be mindful of when you're on the high ground. It also means that it potentially cuts yourself off from support of your team. And I think one thing that you should be doing here is that I don't really like that you and your Echo are in the same exact position pretty much. So I would almost be saying I think it would be better for you to be playing down here, just so then you can get a bit closer. You can utilize the shield potentially, and then you can just use cover to get in and out. But then the main thing is that you are in a different angle than your Echo, right? So maybe instead of being like right here, you could potentially be right here, right? But again, you have to be cautious with it because you don't know, and they end up having snipers. Like, you don't know what it is they're running, rather. So that's just something that you want to keep in mind. Try to look around for where your other DPS is, in short, and try to make sure that you're trying to create a crossfire with them. Because two people poking at the same spot is like, if you were just on the low ground, you could be potentially creating a crossfire, and that would you'd be able to shoot at her when she's not looking, right? This is fine. Roll back, right? Roll this way. So then your team can have access to you. If you need to crouch, you can. I would say even roll back towards here, drop into here, get access from your team here, right? This is like effectively cutting yourself off, right? So if you can think of like the enemy team as like a line, their line is like this at the moment, right? They're claiming this area, right? And you've effectively isolated yourself here. I would not be surprised if you die, right? So if anything, good job. There we go. Good. Right, so just roll back. Just be a bit more cautious. Don't take the Widow like this. Don't take the Widow like this. You should be dead. right? The instant that so when you're trying to contest a Widowmaker as Mccree, you have to make absolutely sure that one, you're either within range of like your flashbang, so you can just like insta kill her, or two, she isn't paying attention to you, right? If she isn't looking at you, like this is too much. This is way too much. You need to get out. You should be dead, right? Um, if I'll give you the benefit of the doubt the first time, fine. But even then, I think if I were you, I would be trying to roll out or like just get out in general, and then I would be heading back towards here, and then I would just work the front line with my team, and then from there you could play a bit more safely, and you could protect angles like up there when the Hanzo takes it, or if he takes it, because I just saw the Hanzo. You could be up here, or you can be looking for the crossfire here when the Widowmaker moves up or something, right? But this is kind of just like your role right now as Mccree really is to just be shitting on people like with damage, just like outputting as much damage as possible and as reliably as possible. Right now there's a Hanzo on the top left. You need to be there. We go. Good job. Good job. That's good. Um, you need to peek. If anything, I don't know if you're in voice chat or not. Ideally, you try to call out for your mercy. If anything, I don't know what button it is to the communication wheel. Ideally, you try to call for them to group up or like to heal you up here. But the thing is that if let's say you don't, for some reason, let's say you're not in voice chat, it's a lot safer for you to just play the off angle and play it safe, right? So in this case, the echo's here, you play over here, right? But where you are right now, you're kind of like prone to getting jumped, and that's exactly what you end up getting here. But do you hit the flashbang? It doesn't look like it. Get the kill. Yeah, there we go. Nice. That was good. That was good. Just get out. Okay, good job. Just get out. But oh. You see, this is where I say that you're making your job a bit hard for yourself. This is kind of unnecessary. You're putting yourself into positions where it's just like, you're like, I want to say you're overvaluing the high ground. High ground is extremely important in Overwatch, but it's like, there has to be a point where it's like, okay, so this next part, I don't really like what I said in the recording. This is in post. I said a lot of shit, but I didn't really feel like it was... really, I feel like I could have shortened it quite a bit. So this is what I feel like is your main issue for this next part. So we were just at this part where you were on the high ground up here, and we were looking maybe potentially this is a free kill, but here's the big core issue with this in my opinion. You're at 95% to ultimate, and what you should be thinking, okay, so like if you want to think about on like a smaller scale, when you look at like your abilities, you shouldn't be thinking about your abilities and like what to do with them as soon as they get online. You should be thinking about them like maybe let's say your flashbang, like maybe when it's like 3 seconds away or 2 seconds away, right? You want to be thinking a little bit in advance with your abilities. That's kind of what it is that you need to be doing with your ultimate as well, right? Especially when you had this time to like take this ground and like work your way up here after like pretty much the fight was pretty much over and the enemy team was regrouping. I don't know why you can't really just play this a bit safer, and you could go for an easier play surrounding your ultimate. So if anything, what you do is that you tell your teammates, okay, I'm just trying to find a position where I actually fucking show where I want you to be. Right down here? No? No? Okay, yeah, this is actually good. Okay, so I'm saying maybe, potentially, like when the fight starts, obviously the fight is gone on a little bit, I guess, here. But when the fight starts, what you can do, like if you see the enemy team walking through here, you just say, alright, just sit behind the corner, we're going to pop shield, and then maybe bongo, and then I use my ult right here. And then you walk past the corner with the shield. You get your wrist of the popper shield right here. And then you just use your high noon right there. Or you could literally just be hiding, wait for them to come in, high noon from the top, or you can also do that from back here potentially. You could see the enemy walking in through here, and then you high noon at this corner, right? And you walk around the corner kind of, so then like you can see their back line. Again, the one risk with that one, snipers, right? And you're out in the open, so maybe you would need again that Orisa shield or potentially a damage boost to make the high noon charge quicker. But yeah, I mean, I don't like how you end up like up here Oh wait, well, I'm going the wrong way. Okay, so I don't like how you end up here, knowing that your ultimate is close to charging, and then you end up in a position where it's like you're kind of just like you're really hoping you don't die. You're like completely isolated. You're getting shot in the ass, and you're like kind of clenching your ass cheeks, just like I hope I don't die. And like you have your like it's just a really it feels a bit stressful, right? And you're making your job like so much harder for yourself than it actually needs to be here. When you could just like get a super simple team fight win if you just set up your ultimate in advance, especially when you're facing the Hanzo. Oh, good, good, good. That's the time that you want to be focusing on the Widowmakers. Like, in general, ideally, if you want to be focusing on people who aren't paying attention to you. Oh, take cover. Good. Unfortunate they die. This is going to be like a 6-man high noon. It's not going to work, though. Yeah. Unfortunate. Right? So, if anything, I would say if we had to go over this fight... Okay, so honestly, if you feel like you can get a kill here, like if you see this person, they're not paying attention, you can go for a high noon, go for it. Right? It sounds a little bit dumb, but it's like you shouldn't, don't be afraid to get a high noon on one person. Right? But I think you just left it a little bit too long. And then it's just a bit unfortunate that 2 people died to that, but there's nothing you can do about that. So let's move on ahead. Okay, so now you've switched to the Reaper. It's okay. I don't know if this is exactly the best map for Reaper, but honestly, the thing is that I don't really like telling people like what is the best and not the best pick, or not so much what is and what isn't the best pick, but more like, oh, you need to switch off now. Um, I tend to let people like play whatever it is that they find the most fun. I think that's the most important thing, is that you're enjoying the characters that you're playing, and then even if you're in a map that's maybe has some disadvantages for you, you can at least try to find and learn some workarounds to play the map in your favor. Realistically, you can get it done. You can get work done with Reaper, especially at this rank. Despite like maybe the disadvantages of the map, where the map is like extremely open, and it's going to be tough for you to find duels in like close areas. If anything, you're going to be wanting to play areas like this, where like you can sort of like let's say the cart's like around here. This area allows you to take ground and like get close to the enemy while in cover, right? But the one issue is that it's a narrow corridor, so it's like you're potentially able to get like shot out from it or something. Or like it's pretty easy for you to get hit if they focus you. But yeah, going on angles like this is great. Are you gonna get closer? Yeah, okay, this is good. This is good. I like this. Okay, the one thing that I'm seeing right now, you need to be paying attention to where your team is, right? Because the thing is that a lot of players, what they'll do is that they'll go on these flanks and try to look for kills. But the thing is that everybody's gonna pay attention to them, because they're not paying attention to anything else. If you'd let them move the cart just a little bit more, and you literally just sit here and wait, like unironically just look at the wall, sit here and wait, right? If anything, turn around and make sure nobody's on you, obviously. But it's like, just don't move, just sit there and wait, look at your team, understand where the enemy is. Once you see that they're starting to engage, that's when you make your engagement, and then you act like the fucking the rat that nobody wants to deal with, right? Like nobody wants to deal with a Reaper. Okay, this is this is very lucky that they don't notice you, but the intent is correct, right? I like the intent. Oh, you're contesting. I'm actually curious. Let's see how long they. Oh wow. This can't be real. This can't be real. You sent no. This is staged. You this. Oh my, come on. All right. Did he finally notice? He didn't notice. I don't know what to say. You're hard carrying. You are hard carrying right now. I hope you know that. Don't be afraid. Just fight him. Nah. But okay. So. Ideally, ideally, he waits. His team, the enemy team, like probably walks around the corner. the Orisa's like firing from here, the Echo's taking angles. Once you see that your team is starting to like aggress a bit, then you go in, right? Or you can stand on the cart for 20 seconds and they don't notice. That works too. That was beyond remarkable what I saw there. You need to get out. Good job. This is good. And now that you have the advantage, literally all you need to do is just like not necessarily play it safe, but just play it in an area that can continue to output something while like not dying. If anything, just try to get healing. And the ideally as Reaper, you want to be teleporting to a location, do your shots, Wraith form out, be back with your team, slowly set up for the next one, teleport, and rinse and repeat. Right. In this case, maybe you would want to be teleporting to like somewhere like up here, right? And then you could be contesting like in this area. You can, and then again, you're finding duels here, and then you can bait out shots with your Wraith. But yeah, that's ideally what you're trying to do here. But yeah, just fire the Reaper. Go on Diva. Go on Diva. You can be completely isolating that Diva. Yeah, don't hesitate like this because you notice how long it's putting you outside of the fight. Like you just need to kind of just like go in and go for it, right? It's like I'd rather you mess up trying to go for something rather than you mess up because you didn't go for something. Because at least at that point you're testing your limits and you're pushing to see how far you can actually go. You need to be teleporting right now. I would say teleport like up to the high ground, up here. And then you can work your way towards here, and then you can drop down. But yeah, the idea is that you need to be testing your limits and see how far you can push yourself, right? And then you can get value out of that, right? Kill the Diva, get on the cart, get on the cart, get on the cart. Good. This is a wasted Wraith form. If anything, I see my tanks walking onto the point, I take cover and get healing, right? If anything, I work my way up here, and then I go again, right? Yeah, again, that's the thing with Reaper. Where I say that like this is an open map, so it's gonna be kind of rough for you if they start taking angles. God, that was close. But yeah, you see, like you're way too much out in the open, and then this is where you feel kind of lost. This is where you need to be teleporting up onto the high ground and just drop on somebody and just shit on them, right? That's the exact thing that you need to be doing. So if we had to summarize what's going on here, take some cover. Or yeah, take some cover after you take damage, and ideally try to don't try to stand on the cart. Play around the objective. You'll create opportunities out of that, right? Because you can just drop in on people who are isolated, get insta kills, farm your ults, win the game, right? Just fire your yep, good. Just break the shield. I would like to see you practicing moving ahead and side to side, like past corners. Right? So like charging shot, fire, charging shot, fire, charging shot, fire. Or potentially just playing a little bit more aggressive. I feel like you're a little bit too scared, right? I think you could be getting... again, it's just like with the Reaper thing that I was saying, where it's like you need to test your limits a bit. No reason to lunge there, I don't think. Like that's kind of like nitpicky, but try not to... Save your lunge because you don't know what they have. And like right now, sure enough, here comes a Tracer. You want to have your lunge for that. You already have it. And you shit on that Tracer. Good job. But, yeah, it's just like in the event of you needing your lunge, you want to have it, so there's no real reason to, like, use it without any reason. This is where I say don't stand in the middle like this, and that's where I say peek, fire, right? Okay. Yeah, this is very risky. You can walk forward, man. Walk forward. Right? So the thing is that with Hanzo, okay, you got the shot. But ideally, you can make it a bit easier for yourself if you move a bit closer. Right? With the projectiles, the further you are, the harder it's going to be to land the shots. So you need to get a bit closer than you might actually realize with Hanzo. Like right now, I would say literally walk up to here. Right? And then from there, you could be peeking, and then you could be getting picks on people who are just like not using the shield, right? And then alternatively, you can be thinking it's like you're also putting yourselves in positions where it's like if this shield breaks, where do they take cover, right? They have to go here, they have to back up potentially, but the thing is that realistically at this rank they'll just back up and stay out in the open. That's the thing you need to take advantage of. You need to take advantage of their mistakes, right? Um, so yeah, again, just push your limits of it here. Walk forward. Walk forward, get closer. Okay, you're taking an angle. This works too. Good job, good job. This is good. Nice. There we go. You see, as soon as you start taking an angle, things are just gonna like work their way into you. They're gonna work their way towards you, right? Um, you creating that pinch is like creating a problem for the enemy. Shout this guy. I want you some. Yeah, there we go. Nice hit. Um, yeah, so ideally you try to take as many angles as possible, so then you're creating that pinch and you're creating more opportunities for yourself. That's really all it is. This is a prime example of it, but the one risk is that you don't have your pocket with you. You need to be careful. Um, unless if you like know that your Winston has primal and he's just gonna go in, it's fine. But just kill. Ah, right. So this is where I'd say this is kind of just as important as it is taking a duel. It's also important to deny a duel. If you see that there's something you need to focus here, you need to do what you need to do to cover the rest of the angle that you aren't going to be focusing on, right? So don't leave yourself open to angles that you're not going to be paying attention to, right? In this case, they're both grabbed. You need to kill them. You go like this, and then you use this part of the wall as cover towards the people who are paying attention to you from here, right? And then you also need to think of it as like you're in a tight corridor. This is a very easy shot for the Hanzo to land because it's only in this tight little area, right? He doesn't really need to aim anywhere, and there's not like much movement for you. So you just break line of sight, fire at the people who are there, and that's pretty much it. And again, this is part of the advantage that comes from being in the off angle. But yeah, I don't really think you should be dead here. Yeah, again, this is where I say that this is the issue of being isolated, taking the angle, right? You don't want to be doing this. This is where I'd say a much safer position if you want to take an angle. Up here, right? From up here, you have high ground control. You could be firing at the people who are... you could be firing at the people who are trying to take the high ground as well. You have cover, like using things like this, right? If not, I would literally just say you could potentially be like here, right? Yes, it isolates you, but you have a lot more cover to work with, and you're less in the open to like getting attacked from the high ground. But again, I think the best bet here is to just work with your team. I would say you could be using your grav. Don't feel or sorry, using your grav, using your dragon. But the thing is that you don't really need to wait for your dragon to be paired up with the grav. It's kind of just like limiting the value of it. It's better if you just get like one kill with it, and then you can just turn the fight with that. But yeah, don't isolate yourself like that. If you're gonna go on those angles, make sure you have a pocket. Your mobility on Hanzo isn't that great, so at the bare minimum, try to get high ground. Right? This is better, but your team is dead, so this isn't the right time to be doing this. Yeah, this is where I say you get the angle, you get the jump on them, but they're not paying attention to anything because it's just like there's nothing to pay attention to, right? And then this is going to be used staggering. So let's wrap this up and let's focus on like 3 things that you can take away with you for when you're to improve on in the future, right? The first thing I would say, test your limits, right? You have to push yourself a bit, like with the Hanzo, where you were playing way too passive, and it was kind of like you were just like too afraid to die, where it's like realistically dying isn't bad. It's just making sure that your life was well lived, right? And by that I mean make it so that like in the situations where it's like you were playing back here and you can't really find anything, if you push yourself up here, you give yourself the opportunity to take advantage of the space that your team is creating, and it also helps you land more shots because you're closer, right? As Hanzo, you don't really want to be playing like 50 million yards back. You need to be closing in the distance at least a little bit, just so then you can more reliably predict the movement of the enemy and land those shots, because he's a projectile hero, obviously. Then I would also say push your limits, like in terms of like understanding what each hero can like do. In terms of like the Reaper, where it's like you want to be getting in close, you don't want to just be sitting on the cart and just shooting at what's in front of you. You need to like get around, get an angle, and then drop down on the enemy, right? So that would be teleporting, like backing, like in that one moment where you got hit from here, you back off, heal up, take cover, teleport up here, and then drop on the enemy behind them. I would also say, I another thing I would like you to work on is the way that you use corners, right? One thing I like when you are specifically trying to do one thing, think about what it is that you need to do to make that job as easy for yourself as possible, right? So deny the duels as well as like open duels in a way, right? So you're opening the duel to the grav that was here while you're denying the duel of or you're denying anybody from seeing you in the long sight line, right? So try to make it easy for yourself in that regard. And then the third thing I'd like to I think is probably one of the more important ones out of these um, is you you need to understand what you can do based off of your team, like in terms of like when you're taking the high ground and like you're isolating yourself. So you need to take the steps so that you don't isolate yourself, even though yes, ideally taking this high ground is extremely important. If your teammates aren't going to do that, you need to play a bit around where they're doing and push the limits of the positioning that they're in, right? So rather than being up here where like your mercy can't get to you because you're isolated, maybe instead what you do is that you play down here, right? Or you and like you're thinking again of that opposite angle of your other DPS, right? So maybe you're playing down here, maybe you're playing up here, right? Whatever really it is that you want to do, but it's just like you need to make sure that you have access to your team in that regard. You don't want to be isolating yourself. Similar to the moment as well when you were like back here with the Hanzo, and the Lucio jumped on you, and I think somebody else jumped on you as well, and you died. Um, or the moment when you went on the hard flank with the Moira, just keep in mind that it's like if your teammates aren't there, or they can't reliably access you, sometimes it's better to just not take a high ground that might isolate yourself, or to take an angle that's too wide and that will isolate yourself. So just try to make sure that you're staying within access of your team in that regards. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, feel free to message me in the Discord or privately. And yeah, I hope you find this helpful.